So, people have been a bit mad about the last balance patch that we had. So mad that people have been posting Reddit posts, forum posts, essentially sometimes attacking, ANET, the developers. Developers in specific, sometimes calling them to quit, or essentially to be fired. A lot of bad things have happened, very, very not good. But there's also been a few posts, and specifically one that was very critical about some Bladestone changes. Not to say everyone should, get fired or anything. It's not really that big of a deal. They were just being, having a lot of critique about the game and about the class. But they did say, and I quote, "This reflects a zero interest in even understanding how Bladestone works. This is not okay." Now, we cannot see the post anymore because it got deleted. Because not only this was, it was a post that was very critical and also a bit insulting to ANET, a little bit, saying that they didn't know what they're talking about, they don't know what they're doing, and they're completely, I don't think they said they were completely incompetent, but they were a bit, they were kind of implying that they were, okay? But the thing is, they fucked up. They're essentially they're saying Electrical Bladestone currently does a 43k without zero boon investment because Daring Dragon now does the same charge damage with a shorter challenge time. The support boon trait should not also be a DPS trait. Now, if this was true, this would be very bad. Taking a trait to give alacrity and it just gives you the same amount of damage that the trait that does that you use for DPS, that doesn't sound right. Well, it doesn't sound right because it's not true. It doesn't really do 43k. But this guy took the numbers from like the burst and not really thought about what happens after the burst. Going down, the damage going down. So he got completely memed, and everyone here, definitely, kind of flamed him for this situation. But also, of the first days, I think the first day that this post was made, people upvoted a lot. And also, they actually believed it, right? People call them, ANET being like, they don't know what they're doing, pretty insane stuff, right? Just on the second day where people actually starting, digging through the numbers and actually saying that this was actually not true. But I'm not gonna shit on this guy too much because even though it is true that they fucked up, and sometimes you can, you just don't know, and you definitely should know about these things if you're gonna post something like this, of course, right? Especially being so critical enough to say this reflects zero interest in even understanding how Bladestone works, to the developers. I think that's a bit, it's considering that you're wrong about this. It's kind of weird, okay? But even with that being said, they did have some cool arguments, some cool ideas, essentially saying Daring Dragon, that essentially what it does, let me just see it here, right? Oh, it's kind of bugged, but it's okay. I'll tell you what it does. What it does is that usually for your big slash, you wanna charge for the whole thing. Bladestone, you get some charges, you charge them up, and you make a big swing and do a lot of damage. And you use Unyielded Dragon for this, and you do an insane amount of damage the more you charge it. But what you do with Daring Dragon is that essentially you can do it multiple times in a row, and use it in a shorter spot. You can only charge to 5 charges instead of 10, right? As you say here, maximum charge level 5, right? But they also charge faster, so you can just be like boom, 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 boom. It's pretty cool idea, pretty cool gameplay, I think. It's fair to say. And this guy was saying they shouldn't have put this on alacrity here because, well, if you do this, it kind of sucks because then if you wanna play this type of game style, you're forced to do alacrity as well. You can't just do DPS. And it is actually, I think, an interesting concept. Like, well, should you be forced to do one role just because you want one gameplay style? Shouldn't, maybe, and he was saying like maybe they should have done it to Lush first. That's, another trait that you used, it doesn't give you any game style abilities, differences. You can just use this instead, and that way you can choose between these two things whenever you want. Whenever you want to do the two, whenever you want to do the playstyle, or whenever you want to do this playstyle. And I also said maybe it should have gotten then on Immortal Dragon that heals you for percentage of damage dealt, and maybe they could instead make it so maybe instead of healing you, it heals 5 people, so you become like a little bit of a healer Bladestone thing that people have been asking lasting for a lot of time. And also they already give you protection. So it will be kind of an interesting thing. And all of these ideas were actually pretty cool, right? I think there's definitely something to be talked about. But of course, because this guy, you know, they put on the they put in the, you know, the right information, and they were also, and I think this definitely shows, is like, I feel like when people are very critical, and I think it's fine to be critical, but also they obviously have a, you know, kind of like an emotional investment, and the post is very charged, you know, like putting like all of this here could have been true, right? Alakri Blazon currently does blah 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 because of this, blah blah blah. Sure, the support boon trade should not also be a DPS trade. Everything here is completely fine, right? Everything here is factual. Well, it could be if this was 34k, but like everything here, if this was true, it would have been fine, right? But whenever you put something like this reflects a zero interest in even understanding how Blitzon works, why would you do this? Why is the point of this? This is just essentially to insult ANET, right? It's starting the conversation with an attack. This does not, I don't think this works, right? I mean, sure, you're gonna rile up some people that hate ANS, right? And this definitely, people even here, even these people, even though this post was wrong, right? They, like, look at this. It's very funny how bad the balance devs are. There's 11 upvotes, even though this post was completely wrong, right? People do respond to that, right? But it is not the way to make the game better, okay? It's just not. It just doesn't work. And if this guy wouldn't have done this, maybe people in the comments would have been like, oh, you know, you fucked up the number. That doesn't really, you know, work that way. But you know what? Those ideas, they're interesting. But of course not. They're not gonna do that because they see that you're being very mad about this and not rational, and they're gonna meme you for it. Like there's a lot of people here being you know, OP is dirty little liar. You know, maybe, I mean, you know, that's a bit too much, right? But yeah, people here are very, very, you know, very, very mad about it, right? And I don't think that's a good thing, right? We could have had this great conversation, and instead we have this like complete shit show because, you know, instead of being, you know, calm and having a calm discussion about these topics, just, well, you don't. You just, you know, fuck up the facts and also look like a bit of an asshole, right? Now, there's this other one, right? There's another post, you know, that they did essentially the same kind of, you know, post like this, but they were very respectful, right? Maybe sometimes a bit too much, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Like for example, it says it's about upcoming like Willbender changes and some things that you can do to make it a bit better. For example, saying that it kind of sucks that you have to essentially take two trades, one that is essentially for one that is actually a power. Wait, is it? This one, yeah, there we go. Sorry, it's one. You have to take one trade that essentially for combi, even if you are a power build. So now you're like forced essentially to, you know, kind of like do combi instead, right? Which kind of sucks, right? And you should just make it. You should put that. You should put that trait into that idea into some other trait, or just make it so the Alacrity works even without this trade, right? I think that's a fair criticism, of course. And there's other things right here, right? There's a few, you know, interesting criticisms on how to do things a bit better for Willbender to be a bit, you know, a bit easier to play, a bit, you know, not completely, you know, busted, of course, but it's just fun, way more fun to play and easier to play and no more impactful as well, right? And all of these things that they said here, they're pretty reasonable. Maybe Anna would not agree, but they're being pretty reasonable, explain their point of view, and telling them, I think this would be good because of this, and this, and maybe, you know, I get what you're saying this thing, but I think this would be better for this reason, right? That's perfect. That's awesome, right? That's absolutely what we want, right? Now, to be fair, I don't think, you know, for example, here, they have little, you know, a smiley face here to be a bit, like, you know, nice to them, right? And of course, they say also like, what is it? Thank you so much. I really hope they're very, very cute about this, which I think it's kind of cool, right? But I do think, you know, you don't have to be like insane, like, you know, insanely positive about this kind of things. You can just be neutral and it's gonna be fine. But I think this is a good, you know, overall, this is a good way of essentially criticizing something that is, you know, is having some trouble, is having some problems, and then it's kind of trying to fix and giving some good criticism about how to fix it, what the problems are, and, you know, have a good discussion about this. And of course, the comments around here, they're pretty good. They're they're pretty interesting about the actual problems that a like reward vendor has. People actually have discussing instead of kind of insulting each other. And of course, I would say that even there are some posts like the I like revelation one that they actually are factual, and they are being maybe very they're trying to say that ain't maybe they don't know what they're doing, of course, and people do discuss. But I think. And this is like essentially an exaggerated type of post, but I do think it is, the best way to, do criticism is do it in a non-emotional way, kind of like, very, like, this is what I think, this is what it should be this way, what do you guys think? And that's it, instead of like trying to imply certain, capabilities of certain people, like, oh, you just don't know how to do this is why this is fucked up or whatever. Just get the criticism, and it'll be way easier for them to actually go through your criticism, and if you're not trying to insult them, and hopefully they'll see that, and they'll hopefully make the changes. Maybe not the changes that you thought it would be better, but maybe you'll help them make better changes overall. Well, here we go. That's what I think. Tell me what you guys think about this whole fiasco that happened, and see you guys around. Subscribe to the channel. Bye bye.